Today is the 14th day of February 2015, and we are continuing our series on Savitri with Dr. Alok Pandey. And we are on the Secret Knowledge, Book 1, Canto 4, beginning with Alive in a Dead Rotating Universe.
Yes. We read last time. You see, this passage is a very interesting passage where one word, one single word, gives a whole, it contains so many suggestions within it. So Sri Aurobindo has described the gods and their action upon the world and how indifferent they are, and their indifference is their strength because they don't act based on our prayers, our barter, our bribe, our virtue, our vice, our good, our bad. They act based on their surrender and identity with the Supreme. So they receive a command and they act. And that is their strength, because if they were to be driven by human emotions and human passions and human wishes and wills, then there will be more chaos than what already exists. I think as humans, our will has created a lot of chaos. It's not in alignment with neither fully with the lower nature and certainly not with the higher nature. At least animals are fully aligned with the material nature, and so there is a certain degree of harmony. Now, this raises spontaneously a kind of question, a kind of questioning anguish, if I may say so, that then are we left alone in this world with just the gods who help us in ways that we can never understand?
Or seem indifferent.
Or seem indifferent. I mean, they are indifferent to this play in the way we understand it. So, obviously, it's a very power-packed passage that we read, and it can fill a human heart with anguish. Then there is no role of prayer, there is no help for us while we are struggling with our small problems of everyday life, which I think we were just talking about. And there it starts with yet. You see this one word that, yet a spiritual secret aid is there. Yet a spiritual secret aid is there. So this yet is a very powerful word. Sri Aurobindo has used it, that yes, all this is true. The gods do not care about us the way we care. They care about us, but not in the way we care. But there is still someone or something, a power, a presence, a being that has come down. It's close to us, very, very close. He would, reveal that on the next page. It is near us in unnumbered bodies and births. There is a secret hand. So we are not left alone. Yet a spiritual secret aid is there, while a tardy evolution's coils wind on. Because we have been told that the immortals look upon hidden aspects. They don't hasten to untie the cosmic knot. They wait in the time for the eternal hour. So obviously, which means that as if we are left to our own resources, it may take aeons, and for the gods, pralaya and rebuilding a universe is a pastime. As the mother said, when nature walks careless, Sri Aurobindo says in Savitri, careless of who dies, who breaks a whole
on her mighty way.
Yes,
When she breaks
a whole civilization crumbles to dust.
Yeah.
And mother uses the word, it's an amusement for them. She speaks about the gods. For them it's an amusement. And because they are totally just as, and she gives an example, just as when we step over ants. So it paints a very different picture, a very shall I say, heartless picture.
Yes.
But we have been also told there is a heart in the spaces wide and bare. Ashwapati has seen it. This is the heart of God which has descended into the play of space and time, descended into this dust, and is there particularly in the human body, as we will see later on, and guides us, holds us. So this is the secret aid. And nature hews her way through adamant. It has its own way. We cannot change its course. A divine intervention thrones above. So there is an intervention.
And that word adamant.
Adamant.
Like
It doesn't
adamantine,
care. You
hard.
see, death strikes at will.
Yeah.
It doesn't care. It doesn't care. There are children who are suddenly left orphaned. Parents, everybody dies. Every time we, read such things or come to know through the news that something like that has happened and it has suddenly left a little child struggling with his life, whereas he had a whole, fortune ahead. So all this happens. Nature is like as if human tears have no value. So Sri Aurobindo reveals to us, he gives a word of hope, yet a spiritual secret aid is there. While nature walks its way, there is a divine intervention. Alive in a dead rotating universe, we whirl not here upon a casual globe, abandoned to a task beyond our force. Even through the tangled anarchy called fate, and through the bitterness of death and fall, an outstretched hand is felt upon our lives. So even when everything is crashed, that's why when people say, we use the word orphan. But actually there is none who is orphan from one point of view. There is a very beautiful story in Indian mythology about Shakuntala. Her son Bharat is the one on whom the name of India is kept, Bharatvarsh. And she was born out of sage Vishwamitra and Urvashi, the celestial nymph. And they are great beings. They are not bothered. They have a child. The nymph says, done, I am going back to my heaven. And Vishwamitra says, a fall, I'll go back to my tapasya, leaving the child there helpless. And the spiritual secret aid, a bird sees, watches over the child. And then a sage, he comes and picks up the child, brings her up in the ashram. And thanks to this abandonment by this couple, very unseemly couple, that she is brought up in an ashram atmosphere and eventually becomes a great character, legendary character in Indian thought. She is the epitome of what a woman must be when she is confronted with all kinds of adversity. So this is what happens in life, that there is an intervention, and sometimes we recognize it. If we are, mother says that so many times grace has done things for you, you don't know. But sometimes we recognize it when we have lost something and we are struggling to find it. So it's there. Even when we go through the tangled anarchy of fate, when things grow adverse, what gives us strength to bounce back? It is near us in unnumbered bodies and births. So is the eternal companion who never leaves us. Lives after lives, it only comes closer and closer and closer. That line in Sri Aurobindo's Krishna, nearer and nearer now the music draws. Life shudders with a strange felicity. All nature is a wide, inanimate pause, hoping her lot to clasp, to touch, to be. So he comes near nature because nature cannot straightaway ascend and the human soul is left struggling. So he comes into the limited frame and helps us. In its unslackening grasp, it keeps for us safe. The one inevitable supreme result. No will can take away and no doom change. The crown of conscious immortality. The godhead promised to our struggling souls when first man's heart dared death and suffered life. These are marvelous lines.
Yes.
So what does he do? What does the divine do? We die and we are reborn, we go through adversity, we go through challenges, we go through difficult moments, we go through happy hours and sadness. But one thing is promised to us, that one day we'll discover that we are immortal, that we are children of delight, and we are actually one with the master of existence. that it has promised to every soul that has come upon earth. And he is going to fulfill that promise. Whatever course, whatever path, whatever dangers and charms of the journey, but he holds in his unslackening grasp. He doesn't let go.
And that beautiful passage, well, he comes into our darker parts.
He comes unseen into our darker
Unseen.
parts.
And curtained by the darkness,
Does
does
his
his work.
So this is the beauty, and very often, this what the passage that's going to follow. So in traditional Indian thought, there is much talk about Vedanta and such things, and what we are going to read is Shri Aurobindo's Vedanta. That the Vedanta is the end of knowledge, the highest knowledge. And what is the greatest knowledge? The greatest knowledge is that whichever way we may go, whatever we may do, we are being carried towards that one goal. We may make it faster and slower. We may make it this way or that way, but we are going towards that. And I often use this analogy when first time I saw GPS in a car. So it reminded me of the divine guidance. We make a wrong turn. We make many wrong turns. The GPS readjusts. Within seconds it gives us a new route. It's a long route, but well, we made a wrong turn. But it will keep reorienting us. So that's the beauty of this guidance, that it works through everything. We have a freedom of choice to delay it or make it happen early. We have a freedom of choice to go through a very, very hard and difficult path or to go through the sweet and sunlit path. That choice we have. But one choice we do not have, and that is the final master act that he has in his hand. We cannot go away from him. And that's a beautiful thing. So we have these lines which are like Vedanta of Vedanta. One who has shaped this world is ever its Lord. So there is a kind of Vedantic thought which says there is the Brahman and there is Maya. So the Lord is, you have to struggle, do tapasya, sadhana, at some point cross the veil of Maya, and then you arrive at the Lord. So he is actually not the master. You are left to struggle with your resources, with some guides. But no, Sri Aurobindo says, one who has shaped this world is ever its Lord.
Yes.
Our errors are his steps upon the way. Each error is a learning process. Somebody was just telling me today itself, now I see I wasted so many years. I had a chance to put my child into this ashram school, but a lot of people told me this and that and I didn't put. So I was listening, so I asked her, how do you know that that is what was not best for your child and you? See how we put so many preconceived notions and stand in the way of God's working.
And we feel guilt.
We feel guilt. She was exactly feeling guilty. Whereas, yes, we must do our best at a given moment. And the best always is a relative best because we are in ignorance. And leave the rest to that hand which is going to steer us through everything. So even what we call as errors, which are inevitable when the journey is through ignorance, none can be free. Yet there is a guiding hand which turns it into a step on the way. So it's a learning process and a growing process. And the mother says in one of her prayers to earth, poor sorrowful earth, each change of your seasons, everything, what makes you feel happy and what makes you feel sad, everything draws you towards me who am endless peace and delight. So we have a same truth being revealed to us. He works through the fierce vicissitudes of our lives. So his is not a kingdom in absentia or only when we are sitting at the samadhi. In the most trivial of things, he is there, enlightening, guiding, protecting us from ourselves, and leading, carrying, depending on what state we are in. But always he is there, even when we completely refuse and from our side do everything to cut ourselves off, he is still there. And when we sink, he sinks with us to make sure we rise up from the bottom of the abyss. So this is wonderful, Fierce vicissitudes.
Yeah.
Through the battle, Krishna with Arjuna in the battlefield. He works through the hard breath of battle and toil. He works through our sins and sorrows and our tears. His knowledge overrules our nescience. There is a very beautiful little story of a bhakta telling the divine, I am a fool and an idiot, but you are an all-knowing guide. If I depend on myself, I have no chance. But I depend on you, O Lord. It's just that we don't somehow, we just feel that everything I have to do myself. Whereas His knowledge overrules our nescience. Of course, we don't know, we make mistakes. But He turns them into steps for the great discovery as long as we have the aspiration, as long as we are trying our bit and surrendering the rest to the divine.
But that is the key.
That is the key, of course. Even otherwise, He carries us. The only problem is that when we don't know that He is with us, we become miserable. It's like you are sitting in the ship, you can look forward or look behind. And you feel miserable. That's why human beings go through many experiences, they suffer. They wonder where is God, or if He is there, He is cruel. The difference is when we acknowledge Him in our lives, our path becomes sunlit, full of delight, and we know that He is there. It makes a big difference. And when we don't know He is there, He is still there. But it makes us full of fears and unwanted anxieties. So this is the big difference.
But is there not still the necessity of aspiration?
Yes, when we become conscious, and even that is awakened by the divine, there comes a time. But even when it is not there, He is there. You see, I was very much surprised when I read one of these statements of the mother in Agenda, and I read it few times to believe it. I mean, I believe everything she says, but am I reading it correct? She has said one place that anybody who dies here goes to Shri Aurobindo, and that was Champaklal. She spoke to Champaklal when Mridu had died in 51, and she had a Shri Aurobindo's mark over the forehead. So I used to believe, yes, but it's true of those who are like devotees, and otherwise we will make it into a Kashi where people die. But then I read in the agendas, Mother says, regardless of anything, regardless of what the person did or did not do, it's enough to have once surrendered to the Lord, and she takes care. It's something amazing.
Yeah.
She takes care. It doesn't matter. Of course, as I said, we can hasten the way, make it less tortuous, make it, less disturbing, certainly, make it less dramatic. But yet, once somebody has said to the Lord that I am yours, and obviously there has to be a yes which the heart acknowledges, then she takes care. Yes, if we aspire, so much the better. But here there is an assurance not only for aspirants, it's a blanket assurance for everything in creation.
This is the question that's often asked of me, so I'll ask it of you. What about those Stalins and Hitlers?
Even they, when they come back, they become a better Stalin and a better Hitler. Even the devil will be less of a devil.
Good answer.
Yeah. As someone has said, it's an aphorism of Shri Aurobindo, but I have kind of slightly paraphrased it, readapted it. It said, not exactly in these words, but more or less similar, all evil is either a good in the making or a good in the passing. Either man is getting purged out of that evil, that poison stuff, and in one life he is just throwing it out like a catharsis, like Augustine, like Jagai and Madhai of the infamous fame, like Angulimal. They are leaving it behind so that they are purged and they are ready. Or like a Hitler and Stalin, it is good in the making. That seed of good in Hitler was where he loved this lady and loved that little cat of his. That was the only love of his life, apart from himself. Maybe he didn't even love himself. But that seed, as Shri Aurobindo said, he has a rudimentary psychic. That seed will grow. That nobody can touch. That is forever pure. And that will come back and grow and become less and less. And that we see in the collective march of mankind.
And there was the story of Buddha and that evil man
Yes,
who was
Angulimal.
passing?
Yeah,
Is that
Angulimal.
it? When
That's
he
it.
said, "How come you're saving me?" and he said, "Well, there was that spider
Yes,
that you let
that's
go."
it. That's it.
That's it.
So that touch of the soul is always there upon human life, even in the worst of human beings. Even if their whole life is void of any single good deed, thought, act, at the end of life, there is a momentary touch because of the soul, one feels it. And that's enough for the divine. He just picks that up, gives it a little push. Otherwise, there'll be no hope. All of us at some point were the same dark stuff. He works through our sins and sorrows and our tears. His knowledge overrules our nescience. So, what do? That comes the point. Aspiration, rejection, and surrender is for the great, for the sadhaks. What does an ordinary person do? Savitri, see, people say, oh, it's a big philosophy for big people. Savitri is for everyday life. And see, the lines that follow are for the most ordinary of the ordinary human beings. And I'm using this ordinary not in any pejorative sense.
Yes.
There is an ordinary part in all of us. But in the sense, somebody who has no clue about divine, doesn't believe, is totally in ignorance. So what does he do when life comes, strikes us? The gods are walking careless and nature is adamant. What does one do now? Whatever the appearance, we must bear. Learn to forbear, learn endurance. Whatever our strong ills and present fate, when nothing we can see but drift and bail, a mighty guidance leads us still through all. This is the faith that is needed. Even if we don't have the faith, it will lead us. But this secret is being revealed to man that look, have faith. Wait patiently for the eternal's hour. As Mother says one place, the last act in the drama of God is not yet over. So it's a beautiful passage. And this, a mighty guidance leads us still through all. And then he says that there is a moment, after we have served this great divided world, God's bliss and oneness are our inborn right. All that is needed in ordinary life, for those who are ready for that deep aspiration, etc. But even in normal everyday life, let us live with an attitude of serving the great spirit that has given birth to this world. After we have served this great divided world, God's bliss and oneness are our inborn right. We don't have to worry. There's a nice short little story in Indian thought about a great tapasvi who did a lot of tapasya and got a lot of powers. And once while he was meditating, a bird dropped on his hand or leg or head or wherever. So he got very angry, looked at the bird, and by the power of his tapasya burned the bird. And now, he had to learn a lesson himself. So in the morning, he went for picking up alms. So he goes to a house and asks for alms. And the lady doesn't respond. So he gets a bit impatient and says, hello, you don't know who is here? He says, yes, I know, but I am not a bird you can burn down with your anger. So he is shocked that how does this lady who is cooking food and doing all the normal things. So then he says, how did you get all this knowledge and powers without sitting in tapasya like me? She said, well, you also can get it, but I am not destined to give it to you. Go to so and so the butcher where you will learn it. And he goes to the butcher and butcher says, wait. And he has to wait the whole time when he is doing his work. And he is doing his work with such patience, such perfection, such love, as if even the dead animal was for him something living. And then he learns the great secret. That secret is love. That's how the story goes. Of course, the story is very long with many things. So serve this great divided world. If we live not with the attitude of just, grasping, possessing, holding, but learning to serve, to love, then God's bliss and oneness are our inborn right. Nobody can take it from us. A date is fixed in the calendar of the unknown. An anniversary of the birth sublime. The sublime birth is a birth in the spiritual consciousness, the new birth. Our soul shall justify its checkered walk all will come near, that now is not or far. And then with these two lines, the 3-4 lines, now Sri Aurobindo, connects with the movement from where it started. Those brilliances, those absolute potencies that burn in the upper hemisphere. So now he connects it. These calm and distant mights shall act at last. So we have to be ready for that great, movement, that action, and to even hold that power, that flame, that glory. And this is the process. And then we can go on to this particular page, which is again a marvel, page 55. Again, the same thought that we must learn to have faith and endure and wait. There is a time for the eternal, the hour of God. It is the hour of God.
It's the hour of God.
Yes. When all the old bases get shaken, institutions collapse, nations are thrown in a topsy-turvy, and what we felt is millions of years ahead gets accomplished in a moment. And it's true even in our individual as well as collective life. So, this hour of God is being revealed here through these lines. We read that, in time he waits for the eternal hour.
Right.
So, what is that hour of God? You see, when human beings announce their hour, there is a lot of pomp and show. So and so is coming. In old time, the Maharajas. And even now, we had visit of the heads of state and dignitaries. There is an announcement. The television is splashing it all through. But how does God come? The King of Kings. So you see, thus will the masked transcendent mount his throne. The masked transcendent is the divine who is masked in this ignorance, this darkness, who has worn this robe. Like a beggar, he roams around as if he has nothing. So how will he mount his throne? When darkness deepens, strangling the earth's breast, and man's corporeal mind is the only lamp, as a thief's in the night shall be the covert tread. So he comes unannounced. As you said, he comes unseen into our darker parts. He doesn't care whether we recognize him as God or not. That touch is enough. I know people who had the first touch of mother, just a look or maybe a book, and for years, decades passed, and they went through a series of circumstances and situations till finally they came back to that point. So the divine comes unannounced but waits. He starts working. The moment there is the touch, the working starts. How long it will take? Very often when an absolute supernatural darkness falls sometimes on man. A time comes when suddenly we feel there is too much darkness and mind is confused. It doesn't know which way. And that time the path opens. As long as the mind is sure of the way, the path is closed. This is the paradox.
But he says, when fail all nature's means.
That's it. So as long as we are so sure of our mental reason guiding us, so divine says very fine, like that letter of Dilip Kumar Roy, Anatole France, that if God is omnipotent and omniscient, why doesn't he change the world? And Sri Aurobindo says, I have been, God said to Anatole France in a heaven of irony, that I have been always of a little retiring predisposition. And when science and industry came and said, we are going to remake this world, I said, yes, why not? Please go ahead. And what is it that I hear? And at the end, he puts it back, that if science and industry are omnipotent and omniscient, why has the world not become better? So you see, this corporeal mind, which believes that it can guide the whole world, and it cannot guide even itself. The great scientist who writes the theory of everything doesn't know, cannot predict what is going to happen the next second in his life. And it's simply a realism, a truism. We don't know.
Nor any of us.
None of us. And yet, we can know. When we don't even know, what is most intimate to us is our own life. We have faith, so we say we will meet tomorrow. But as they say, who has seen tomorrow?
Yeah.
So that's how the divine comes.
Like a thief.
Like a thief, because he's not welcome.
So subtle.
And he comes to steal our heart, our mind, our thoughts. Augustine. Of one who steps unseen into his house. You see, that is how, another way, stories of Krishna and Ramayana. Ramayana wanted to take Shiva to his abode, and Shiva refuses and eventually he is not able to take, because Ravana is not ready. But see how circumstances eventually, because he had that touch and he had granted. So how the whole thing goes. Ravana leads a life which is, a totally asuric life. And step by step the divine comes closer and closer till he does that great deed of actually ending up kidnapping, Sita.
Yeah.
And finally he goes there, Rama goes, and Shiva's Ansh, Hanuman goes there, and eventually they establish themselves in Lanka. He always wanted secretly that he should be the Lord here. So, like a thief, like somebody who is coming to take his own due, he comes. That give me my due. And we say, no, you don't deserve anything. You must give us. How can we give you? You give us. But he comes and asks, and if he don't, he steals it. And that's the end of things or the beginning of things. Of one who steps unseen into his house. This body, this life is his house. Space and time are his house. They have been built to house him. A voice ill-heard shall speak. The soul obey. The mind cannot even hear, cannot understand, but the soul knows. A power into mind's inner chamber steal. A charm and sweetness open lives, closed doors. A love invading us from the spiritual silences above will fill us with a charm and sweetness as we have never known. And beauty conquered the resisting world. This is an amazing line. Amazing line.
Yes.
This is the ultimate victory. Because ultimately all evil is born out of crudeness of nature. If men had the sense of beauty in the deepest sense, they would not commit many things. And if we had in our grasp, or if we could understand or feel and have a sense of the highest beauty, there would be no more evil in the world. All evil is because our nature is unrefined, crude, ugly. So look at this line, beauty conquered the resisting world. Normally man wants to conquer and capture beauty. But here it's the other way around, beauty conquering the resisting world. The truth light capture nature by surprise. This too is a play, wonderful play, when nature least expects in the darkness. And suddenly it feels around her the arms of God and the shock of sweetness of an arm's embrace. Shobinda says that in the words of falsehood, that suddenly nature feels in the dark state, suddenly the divine has come and clasped her, and it's so beautiful an experience.
Sri Aurobindo's favorite word, I've been told,
Yes.
was sweetness.
Yes, of course.
And it was Shakespeare's as well.
Yes. And the one which he most detested was cruelty.
Yeah.
So
Yes.
they are the
Yes.
opposite of. A stealth of God compel the heart to bliss. This is the only hope.
Yeah.
He has to steal us, steal into our chambers.
Yeah.
There is that poem of Amal Kiran, no, where he says, I know I have only mouth of clay to supplicate and hands of flesh. My prayer may not reach you, but you have to assume a form that is human, form of clay, and come near me so that I can comprehend you. And that is the mystery of the divine incarnation.
And that poem, Sri Aurobindo wrote about.
Yes.
He said, if you could always write like this,
Yes.
you would be amongst the highest poets.
Yes, excellent it is.
Yeah.
I cannot reach you.
Yeah.
You come, take me by storm and surprise. See, there are poems of love for the divine which are like this. I am helpless, I have no choice. But come and take me. And the divine comes, stealth of God, and earth grow unexpectedly divine. He knows that people doubt. And what does he mean by that divine? In matter shall be lit the Spirit's glow. This divinity is not only some abstraction high above, not only in our inner being, but the very matter will change. In body and body kindle the sacred birth. Night shall awake to the anthem of the stars. The days become a happy pilgrim march. Our will, a force of the eternal's power, and thought, the rays of a spiritual sun. And then comes these 4 magical lines, a reminder to everyone, a few shall see what none yet understands. We may talk about it. That's why about Savitri, Mother said so beautifully. It is only I who can explain Savitri.
Yeah.
Only by her grace can this be revealed. There is no other way. It cannot be done by the mental process, cognitive analysis, and looking at things piecemeal, trying to cogitate. No, only she can reveal the truth of Savitri to a soul that is open and surrendered. Otherwise, it cannot be. So none can understands, yet understands. In time, yes, God shall grow up while the wise men talk and sleep. Is he there? Is he not there? The theist and atheist will keep, pulling each other's hair till they become bald. For man shall not know the coming till its hour. So all this, dealing into all this prediction and prophecy that whether God is round the corner or 300 or 1,000 years, let's live with the sense of eternity and also the sense of here and now. The two things complementary, seemingly paradoxical, but they are complementary states. That it's here and now. Who knows? Next day, next moment. And prepared to wait till eternity if need be. Only he can decide when he will come. So, man shall not know the coming till its hour, and belief shall be not till the work is done. So, how beautiful this is. I do. Part of me wants to read Master of Existence, but maybe we should, stop and because it's very powerful and beautiful.